Welcome back to another episode of Low Tech Garage. We are back working on the Corvette and we got some cool updates for you. And if you're watching this video and you haven't subscribed yet, take 2 seconds, hit that subscribe button. We really appreciate it. If you're into cool classic car content like this, we got a ton more coming your way, and we would obviously love to have you. And every subscriber really does help us grow the channel. So just take 2 seconds, hit that subscribe button for us right now. But now, on to the video. Now, if you're just joining us, feel free to go back and look at some of the earlier videos because this thing looks a whole lot different than it did when it started. And if you've already been following along with this build, you'll notice it's on the ground, on its wheels. That's a huge moment. Now, we haven't filmed every nut and bolt of this because some things have just been, torquing things down, double checking things, lots of tightening and loosening and tightening, which isn't super fun to watch. Which for you guys means actually this has been a relatively fast-paced build as promised right from the get-go. As you can see, the front end is basically fully in and almost ready to rock with just a few more bolts that need torquing and a couple bump stops that we got to get in. Those are tons of fun. And same deal here on this rear end setup. Very, very close as well with just the sway bar, which needs to be connected, I believe, after we have the full weight of the body on. That'll allow the geometry of the suspension to settle to where we can get those end links in. And of course, in between that, got new fuel lines run, and these lovely refreshed cross members. Everything is looking really, really nice. And with how nice this car is going to be, obviously we wanted to make sure there's as many new clean parts on it as possible while still staying realistic and not just throwing things out just because. So there are some original parts on this that are in fantastic shape, and things like the fuel tank where, we opted to get a new one, new straps, new fuel lines, so it's going to have a brand new fuel system from front to back because this shiny new fuel system is going to be feeding one heck of a motor. Now, I only teased that motor because honestly, we're actually probably going to do a standalone video just on that. Leave us a comment if you want to learn more about why that motor is so special as well, because we are happy to talk about it. We'll do a separate video all about it if you guys are interested. So drop a comment right now if you want us to do a separate video on that, and we'll happily oblige. But back onto today's mission, installing the gas tank and some of the last fuel system components. So, Eckler's came through, and as is relatively unsurprising, you can basically get every component for a C2 Corvette from them down to like every nut and bolt and everything. So, along with this beautiful replacement tank, we have our brand new fuel sending unit. James has got one of the brand new tank hold down straps as well. We've got all new gaskets and hardware. And of course, as mentioned, we have the brand new fuel line, which pops into the rail there and pops out back here. So all of this is going to be connected up and be spotless so that you have no issue of rust coming up to the awesome motor. So we're about to get things started, but we need a little bit of music. And while we've had our trusty speaker here with Bluetooth for a while, we finally busted out the old record player. Because we have a decent selection of pretty cool records to choose from. So we're gonna start trying to listen through those while we're working on this thing. So let's fire this thing up. Now we can get to work. All right, so I mentioned the bump stops earlier, and we figured out a great method for getting these things in if you happen to be fighting them on your Corvette. First things first, you're gonna want to lubricate this cone-shaped surface here. So we used Vaseline on that, and that worked pretty well. And then inside, you also want to lubricate around the hole where it's gonna be pressed into, just a little bit there as well. So once that's lubricated, basically it should slip in, but there's a special method we found to actually get it to do that. Because I was trying to use a screwdriver and lean on it, and that was not working. And that method was putting it directly upright like this. So basically, we seated the cone into the hole, and the first time we tried it, we had it at an angle like where this was flush with the upper mountain here, but that was actually an issue. When we tried to jack the car up, it just rolled out. But by putting it dead upright like this, when we jacked the car up, it basically rolled right into place as well. So that worked extremely well. Just if you are holding it in place while you're jacking the vehicle up, just watch your fingers. Keep them on the lower edge here, not the higher edge here. Be very careful not to pinch your fingers because it will hurt. And And with both bump stops in, we are now moving on to the gas tank. And we are just finishing up with the fuel sending unit install. There's a little bit of fun where I guess the pickup pipe on ours was slightly long. We had a very simple solution that got us past that. Basically the sending units, the potentiometer has a small tab on it, and we were able to just lay that back down to allow it to just swing ever so slightly past. That got us the little distance we needed to get the tip in, and then we bent it right back. No problem at all. So if you're running into an issue where the float goes in and then the tube won't go in, that's a super easy fix. It works super well. And we have the locking ring installed. So basically you just drop it in place. These little tabs right here kind of swing this way. There are little stops on there. And you have these little verticals right here that you can put a flat blade screwdriver on and just tap gently to spin it into place, and that will pin it down nicely. So we put the straps in place. We have bent these hooks on the end because these do come flat. So all we did was actually curve the strap the opposite direction up into that hole, and then we pulled upward on it while one person was working this end, the other was making sure it bent up to create this nice little hook. We've radiused it over the tank here. We are actually going to get a slightly longer carriage bolt. The original one feels just a hair short, and we don't want to tax that. Plus, we've got such bright, shiny new parts, and the bolts are cheap, so we're going to basically get a couple of those. These strips right here are actually anti-squeak strips, so the tank actually sits on those, and it stops it from squeaking when it moves around just a tiny bit. There's also two that go under the straps as well. So once this is all assembled, there's actually going to be two of these strips between the strap and the tank. And then last, we have removed the filler collar from off of the tank here and the cap. So we're gonna clean both of these up the best we can, make them look real nice. And we're gonna get some new hardware because bolts of this size should hopefully be relatively cheap. And unfortunately, we did have one casualty while taking it off. Oh, and actually, I lie. In this bag right here, we already have brand new bolts. Well, that saves us a little bit right there. All right, we have that filler neck in the vise, and do some wire wheeling. All right, so now we have this thing wire wheeled down, wiped off with some parts cleaner, and we've masked off the surface here. We're gonna brighten this thing up with some silver paint. And after a couple coats of primer and some silver paint, it looks very nice. And that's where the anti-squeak straps are gonna sit on the tank, and then the metal straps go over the top of that. So for now, we are pretty much wrapped up for this session, and we'll catch you up, guys, in the near future. Now, thank you again for watching. Hopefully you enjoyed seeing the progress on the C2 Corvette today. We got more coming very soon. And of course, don't forget what I said. If you guys are interested in seeing a video on that motor, please drop us a comment below. We want to know if that's actually something you're interested in seeing or if it's kind of just a waste of your guys' time. So drop it in the comments below. Let us know if that's something you want to learn more about. And of course, as always, take 2 seconds, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. We try to put a lot of effort into this content. We hope you're really going to enjoy the future stuff that's coming out, and hit that like button too. It lets the algorithm know that you like this content. It's good stuff. But for now, I think that's it. So we'll catch you on the next one.